Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my honor to be here. It's the second time which I'm in South Africa. The first time was 15 years ago. I was doing some other business relating to food safety issues. And thank you for the Sea Opera who invited us and give us this opportunity to meet you guys and to talk about the recent situation in China. And I will do this presentation on behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, and also the State Forestry and Grassland Administration on both of the authorities. Because as you may know, in China, according to the PVP regulations, there are two authorities for examining and approving for plant variety protection. One is the Ministry of Agriculture and the Rural Affairs, and formerly is the Ministry of Agriculture. And the second one is the State Forestry Ministry, and now is the State Forestry and the Grassland Administrations, which is quite unique in the world. And to have two authorities, I know just in the morning, and the CPVO is one authority who covering 28 members. So we are, on the contrary, well, we sort of divide into two. But how we are going to do and between the two ministries, so I will tell you later on. And I will sort of give you a brief introduction on those six issues. And first way is the kind of numbers. We're talking about application number and granting number. This is the both of us in MARA and NAFCA. So that's we accumulated more than 30,000 applications. That is, bear in mind, that is 20 years of the work. And we joined, as China, we joined the UPOV 1999, and this year is the 20th anniversary. So by the end of the month, we're going to host a kind of a activity, celebrations for China to join the UPOV. And then we invited Mr. Peter Barton as well as the Mr. Martin Atwood from the CPVO will join us to share our kind of experience, as although it's smaller. Compared with to the most of the world, members, you have very rich experience. We are catching up. And for the granting, we are over 13,000. That is the figure. And for the last 2 years, the application numbers have gone up to the first among UPOV members, and for the granting is within the top 5 of the members. And that is the breakdown from MARA and the forestry. And we have accumulated such numbers and the granting numbers, and the 45% of granting among the applications. And you may say, what about the others? Well, some of them are in the processing for DUS testing. Some of them may, for some reasons, may not last longer until have the certificates. So that is the general scenario everywhere in the world. And for the forestry, more or less the same, although the numbers is is compared to the forest agriculture is less. And that is by the end of the last year, the figures. And if we talk about 20 years, the applications from the ministry the momentum grows very significant, particularly after 2017. Yeah, and I'll tell you why, and later on. And also, same as the annual granting is sort of in the growth. Last year we had near 2,000 applications have been granted. And if we break down by different species or crop types, you will find in China, and particularly the Ministry of Agriculture is concerned, the majority, 80% of the majority, are the agricultural crops. And for the ornamentals, only 9%, and the veggies, 7%, and fruits, 4%. So that is the general statistics and the general scenario in China in terms of the plant variety protection. So maybe they have a big contrast compared to the European EU or to the USA or even to Japan. So the situation will be the other way around. This is the reason why, because for the last 40 years, the Chinese government has increasingly put investment into the public research institutes and public universities. So they produce lots of the agricultural crops. That is the main reasons. And for the granting, more or less the same scenario. And we talk about the foreign applications. Up to now, they have 1,842 applicants from 21 foreign countries. The first one, the number one country are the Netherlands, followed by USA, Japan, France, and Germany. So, and maybe the picture will be changed, and maybe more foreign applications will be applied to China, and with the new regulations being adopted will be adopted in the coming years to come, in the future, in the near future. And among them, we have a large number of improved varieties of maize, rice, and this is very important for us to solve the food security. Yeah, that is because we have to feed the 1.4 billion populations. Therefore, food security is the number one priority in Chinese government tasks. So therefore, these new varieties among 20 years have generated, and also we had some replacements every 6 to 10 years for the because of the new varieties. And some of them, they are the extreme good ones in terms of the maize variety as well as the rice varieties. In addition, we also have some granted some ornamental or horticultural varieties. Like in the pictures, they have the red flesh apple, the yellow flesh kiwi, and also the colorful grape flowers has been increased. And those, bear in mind, all those breeding activities is done not in the university, not in the research institutes, not in the companies, seed companies, but is carried out by the farmers. The local farmers have a little bit knowledge, or maybe they just didn't have no knowledge for breeding at all. But for this red apple instance, they only find a mutant in the graveyard, in orchard, and then they sort of gradually develop and crafting that. So this variety make him a fortune, a millionaire, and before that he just a poor peasants. And so that's for the colorful oilseed ribs. Took him 30 years to develop this kind of new varieties. So that is a kind of a story behind, although, as I said, in China, the majority of breeding activities carried out by the state-owned research institute as well as the universities. Now, the seed industry, the company is catching up, but bearing in mind, we have a very, so we have a lot more populations, and we have a lot of the farmers which they have the dream. They would like to fulfill their dreams for achieving one of the breeding activities. So that is the few cases. And the second one is we're talking about the PVP system in China. And national level, we have a national, the seed law of People's Republic of China has been issued by the through National People's Congress. And the recent revised 2015. And we have the regulations of the the PVP regulations, which promulgated 1997 by the State Council, and have some revision. And the recent revision and the big, significant changes is carried out recently, and we already put our drafts on the website and ask for opinion overseas, and we have received not only domestic and also from overseas, from the government institutions as well as from the foreign companies, as well as for the organization like CPVO and the COPERA and also the CPVO, who give us a comments and suggestions. And within the ministries, the agriculture, we have sort of set up the implementing rules on the PVP regulations. And for the forestry, also they have the implementing rules on the forestry part. So we have two implementing rules and the same PVP regulations. So that is the particular situation in China. And also we have a lot of, in order to carry out our works, we have to draft a provision on examining of the re-examining board, appealing board, and also for MOA we have the provision of on handling infringement of new varieties, and also for the rules on denomination of plant variety in agriculture. And for both ministries, we have the interim provision for Taiwan application in the mainland for apply for new plant variety. That is it's unique. The Taiwan issue is very unique in China. And also we have a close, tight work with the Supreme People's Court. Mr. Judge Law is there, and help them, and we collaborated and to promulgate the two kind of judicial explanations on how to handling the infringement cases in China. And these two now is under revision. And I believe this afternoon, Judge Law will tell you more about. And as I said, the seed law, the new seed law, they have something which is good for in relation to PVP issues. One is erase the PVP legal positions, because seed law is higher in terms of the legal status is higher than the regulations. And the second one is the clarity DS testing as basic technical requirements in variety management. And thirdly, strengthen the punishment for PVP infringements, and the amount of compensation rise significantly. With the new law, and you can define you can sort of up to 3 million RMB, but in the previous PVP regulations, the highest one is 500,000. So you can tell it's a 6-fold increment. And also we have the under the law is clarify the duties of agricultural administrative department at county level or above. So that is the advantage for putting PVP issues under the seed law or within the seed law. And also we're talking about sort of the policy and also the legal framework. We have to take into account, which is the production list. And so far, we have, as MOAs, we have promulgated 11 batches of production lists, which the total number of genera and species up to 191. And so that is the situation in the MOA, MARA is concerned. And for the forestry, also they have promulgated 6 batches of protection lists, and the total number is 206 genera and species. And you may ask what is the distinguishness between the application receiving area from the MOA as well, agriculture as terms of compared to the forestry. Well, in general terms, the agriculture, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs will receiving all the applications for the agricultural crops, vegetables, and the fruit, and most of the fruit, and also the sort of the ornamentals, which is the herbarians plants, not for the woody plants. And in the contrast, the forestry will receive the applications for the forest trees, veins, and some of the ornamental, which is the woody plants. So that is roughly the definition for the, or is the kind of the jobs responsibility between our two ministries. And thirdly, I will touch on the law enforcement and well, I do believe Judge Law will have a better position. She's the right person to say this. But since I'm here, so I just give you a clue, a general clue. In China, we have 2 channels for the enforcement, which is unique among members, UPOV members. The first one is the administrative enforcement. By doing so, we have at the central level, the provincial level, district level, and the county level, we all have established a very comprehensive agriculture administrative system. So they were helping us to do the infringement, to handling the infringement or the counterfeited variety cases. And as a matter of fact, it is the case around 90% of the cases, first instinct was being handled through the administrative channels rather than the judiciary channel. So that is unique. Perhaps you don't know, or you might not take notice on this. Is by doing so, we're reducing the amount of the application for the judiciary, for the court. Yeah. And also, the handling the cases through the administrative is quicker, and most of the time there is no free of charge, you know. So this is just to do the mediation, right? And this kind of work, helping to providing the evidence, and then they talk both of the two parties, and then they sit down and they talk, say what's going on. And through this kind of mediation, you may find your problem is being solved, or you have bring attention to the local administrative bodies. Oh, yeah, bearing in mind, yeah, because in China we have very strong administrative systems through the central to the local governments. So if you get the help from the government, so that will, you will, I think it's the advantage for you to do whatever you like, do business, or you do sort of the kind of the handling the infringement cases. So that is unique. It is the Chinese situation. On the other hand, and the judiciary enforcements, I do believe Judge Law will tell you, so I will skip this part. And this is some pictures. We will do the sort of kind of on-site inspection. During the growing seasons, we check in the field and see whether the variety is the variety holder's variety, or if somebody took the variety, their varieties. And also we have a sort of collaborate with other government organizations and to sort of crack down the infringement cases. And the fourth one is the examining and the DOS testing systems. And in terms of the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, we established a PVP office and also as the re-examination committees. And under the PVP office, we have my employer, the DCST, is Development Center of Science and Technology. We had also is the DOS testing headquarters. Headquarters will sort of doing the real work and the routine works for the receiving applications and arranging for DOS testing, and also for the sort of final approval, this kind of thing. And also we have the seed storage centers for we store the seed varieties. And also we have two divisions under my center. One is my division, which is a division for PVP examinations. Another division look after the DOS testings. And we have 27 DOS testing branches across country and 3 stations. 3 testing DOS stations, that is for for the vegetative propagated variety. Normally, most of the cases is the fruit varieties. So, because we have a kind of the situation is different from the seed varieties, and the forestry had a similar structure like us, yeah. And here we have the 27 sub-centers and 3 stations is scattered around the country. So well, almost each province has one centers. So you could sort of ask for the local DOS testings to do the DOS test on your behalf. And also, apart from the DOS testings, in terms of the examinations, we have sort of to facilitate breeders draft their application documents based on online application system since the 1st January this year. And also, we sort of incorporate with the UPOV, and we have launched the UPOV Prisma system in China in order for our domestic applicant, also we receiving the foreign applicants file the application through this system. Although I have to say, at the moment, there are only two varieties, two species. One is the lettuce, and the other one is the roses, as you can apply on the Prisma. But sooner or later, we are going to expand the range of the varieties and the sort of they can use the Prisma system to apply. So, and the sort of this kind of a thing, we are sort of actively take part of the UPOV's sort of missions. And also we have the develop sort of national test guidelines, as well as the DNA fingerprinting techniques, and the same for the forestry as well. And so all these the technical protocols helping us to conducting the DOS testing, as well as the variety identifications. And they have, this is the professional DOS testing team. We have, well, with the help through UPOV, as well as the CPVO, and also the UPOV members. And so we trained a lot of the experts, the local experts, to do how to do properly DOS testing. And this is some of the facilities and for sort of how to conducting the DOS testing according to the national test guidelines, and also we have a very strict protocols how to conduct it, and that is the labs facilities, and to sort of helping to do the DNA fingerprinting as well as for the variety and identifications. And that is incentive policy. Well, maybe. In China, since 1st of April 2017, China has the PVP relevant charges have been suspended. In other words, from now on, 2 years, we have free of charge to the whole world. So this is not only for the domestic, also for the foreign applications. So I counted last year, the foreign applications have been increased. Maybe it's because of this policy. Why not? Why don't you wait for? Please fire on into China. This is a golden opportunity. Bear in mind that we're using the suspension. It's not the cancel or sort of so don't ask me when will be resumed. I don't know. Well, but for the moment, so you take the advantage as much as possible to apply for in China. And that is the cases. So the applications in China is kind of surging up. So we have a lot of workloads on our duties. And this is our websites, and so if you're interested, you have a look. Bear in mind, I will sort of we'll leave the PPT and to all the audience. And also, this kind of awareness, the publications and this kind of things draw attention. Bearing in mind that recently we had a survey. We have survey which is, you can guess how many percentage of the populations, and in general population, have the acquaintance or have knowledge or have even heard of the plant variety protection. I can tell you, less than 10%. This is not, we're talking about the professional breeding like us. We're talking about, sort of general, ordinary people, citizens in the city as well as in the countryside. Less than 10%. Therefore, that means we have a long way to go. We have a lot of work to do to sort of educate them, to draw their attention to the plant variety protection. And that is, we had a plot demonstration for the plant varieties, and the sort of in order to facilitate the breeders, they can sort of they can have a better use of their varieties in other sort of provinces, and also we take the advantage of all the sort of exhibition of, and to do the kind of information release, and also through the newspapers, and we have to do the publications, and this is the international cooperation as well. And since we are joined the UPOF as a member, and the Chinese government have always put cooperation with open up, facilitate the communications into a very important place as a significant measures for promoting the development of international plant variety protection. And among those 20 years, we had a kind of a collaboration with the Sino-EU. Recently, we had signed an administrative arrangement with the CPVO, and also we have the Sino-Dutch agreements, where that lasts for 10 years, and also USA and this and so on. And last year, we had the sort of a host a kind of a training course for our neighboring countries. And this one on the top left, that is for the our Mekong River among these countries, and the next one is sort of also for the Middle East. The Central Asia countries, and we have run the PVP courses and also draw attention to them, and we are willing to providing the helps to them in terms of not only the PVP system but also the DOS testing technical support as well. And also we had this is on the down right, that is we're holding the TWV UPOF TWV session and last year in Beijing. Oh, okay. And thank you for the, the UPOF, and also the Dr. Lubo, which is my colleague, previously my colleagues, and he got the chairmanship of the Committee of Administrative and Legal Affairs for several years, and this is by the end of the term, and Mr. Francis Gary has kind of accomplishment for his tribute to the UPOF. And this one is Mr. Arnold, and he, as an expert of the Netherlands, from Naktumba, and for the we have recommend him, and he got a friendship reward in 2013, and we thank you to his excellent contribution to promoting development of Chinese PVP during the 10 years period, he trained a lot of DOS testing personnel for China. And this year, we have to do the same thing. We'll wait for the moment to come. And the latest developments, as you know, and we are sort of modification, the PVP regulations. And the major features we try to establish the EDV policies among PVP regulations. And also we broaden the scope of breeders' rights to the production from not only the production, but also through the different channels. And also we have to extend the scope from the propagated material into the harvest material, or even to the product directly come from the harvest materials. And also we extend the protection periods, the further extension of the protection list. Literally, we would like to sort of to protect all the plant genera and species in the future. And also they have some more sort of a provision or some modifications you may find through the websites. And personally, I welcome you to have comments on this. We are apparently sort of accumulated those comments, and we do the study, and also we will sort of do the final approval, final drafts, and then we send to the Ministry of Justice and ask them for the review, re-examining this kind of and the PVP regulations. So I hope, if not the end of the year, maybe next year, we can have the new adopted PVP regulations. So that will, these new regulations will have a significant increment, and also of the production levels, as well as they take a very sound, very solid protection for the breeders overseas, as for domestic as well as for the overseas. And also, as I said, we had a sort of a revision on the provision of the Ministry of Agriculture on handling infringement new variety cases. Also, we have drafting the rules of the administrative enforcement PVP in agriculture. As I said, we have administrative channels to handling the infringement cases, but for them, how do they conduct the handling cases? How do they conduct it? So we have to tell them how to do it. So we have a kind of protocols, and we tell them how to do it from the beginning to the end. So this whole thing, and also this kind of universal criteria, and so everybody will have the same, binding rules. So we will enable each cases will treat fairly and equally as well. And also we're helping the Supreme People's Court to get a revision for those judiciary explanations on the infringement cases. And Judge Law will tell you this afternoon. And last but not the least, China will open to you to share a bright future. Well, that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.